All right, let's kick this thing off. Um, recently I've came across a study from Google, and it really inspired me to put these insights together for you guys. One of the biggest things from that report was that it said that 32% of marketing leaders find linking their marketing performance to financial metrics challenging. Can I get a quick show of hands? How many of you guys have been in this position in your career as a marketer where you've been scared to kind of show how much you're spending to your CFO, where your dollars are going, and how you're going to keep your ads going? All right. And I've been in that position myself. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's a necessity for any organization that's trying to scale, whether you're an early stage startup, you're a B2B SaaS company looking to scale your campaigns, or if you're a consultant or freelancer working with multiple organizations on a budget. With the recent rise of AI, it's so easy to see how the landscape has changed. But one thing that I do see is that there still are two paid media channels that still perform quite well, and that is paid search with PPC as well as paid social. So I'm going to touch a little bit more on that next. One big thing to understand is the CFO's perspective on marketing ROI, right? A lot of the times when you're putting reports together, you're trying to figure out, well, what's the best way to show that my campaigns are performing well? A lot of the times we're so quick to rush to put a slide together showing your CTR, any click-throughs through your ads, any kind of creative elements that might not be as insightful to your CFO, right? At the end of the day, they want to know what's driving revenue, where's your pipeline at, what's filling up pipeline, and what's getting us to the finish line with closed won deals. So to put in perspective, the way I look at it is with our CFO, he's great. Ollie, he's over there. He's really great. Keeps me on my toes because I really want to understand how well my campaigns are performing. Right. I like to be really obsessive with data. I'm sure you guys as marketers are as well. We leverage HubSpot as our main CRM. So Mitch, who basically set up our HubSpot and has it so iron tight, we work together. He built out an excellent bow tie funnel that we kind of align all of our business goals and tie that to our ad performance, whether it's on paid social or on Google or Bing. But the biggest thing to understand is thinking like a CFO. I like to take my shoes off and think, okay, I'm not a marketer at this point. If I'm going to present to the CFO, what is he really interested in? And where is the money going as far as our advertising spend goes? The biggest thing is helping him understand, the reality of the situation. We're running, let's say, for an example, I have a client that's running 20 concurrent ad campaigns on Google. So you'll want to find a measurable way to track all of that. They leverage HubSpot as their CRM as well. And having that data clarity is very important to help your CFO understand, where the deals are being closed. One takeaway I like to say is ask yourself these questions. Are you able to answer right away to your CFO? Where are your ad dollars going? Where are the geographic regions that are spending the most money? How many closed won deals did you have in the last 6 weeks? If you struggle to find those answers, then you have a problem. You're not really reporting on stuff that matters to your CFO that's really moving the needle forward. And those are questions that I ask myself on the daily. How many opportunities did I generate in the last 4 weeks? And where did those opportunities come from? How much money did it take to get those opportunities? And, what could I do to increase those opportunities in a specific region? So these are some things to think about when you're putting reports together for your CFO because they're less likely to be enamored by a high CTR, right? I know as marketers, we're like, oh, great, this campaign's generating 10%, click-through rate, or it has a high engagement rate. But at the end of the day, CFO really wants to understand, where the revenue is going, how much money has been spent in a quarter, last 6 weeks, 4 weeks. So just to give you some tips on how I like to do things, I like to put together kind of a map of, questions that I think they would want answered. And I write the questions down, right? For example, with the client that I had that's in the health and safety industry, the questions that I asked were they're working in 5 different geos. 5 questions. Which geo's performing the best? Which geo's spending the most money? Which geographic region is underperforming? And which geographic region should I be shifting budgets away from? So if you tailor your questions like that to any particular client you're working with, then you're already taking the first step to helping your CFO understand the visibility into ad campaigns that you're running, and also showing the results for any campaigns that you're running for any particular client, whether it's e-commerce, B2B, or direct to consumer. So yeah, so I'm going to touch upon my next slide here, which is the formula. And you guys all know ROI, big one, right? Return on investment. We all want return on investment. We all want, 2x, 3x, right? We all want to understand what the customer acquisition cost is versus, the lifetime value of a customer. So what a customer acquisition cost is how much you're actually spending to acquire a customer. Lifetime value is the revenue generated from an individual that's already converted to a customer and you may want to upsell to in the future with any upsell opportunities and reduce churn, right? And the third point is looking at industry benchmarks because, we want to understand what good ROI looks like. And that varies across every industry. There's no true playbook out there that says, hey, this particular vertical is, producing the most revenue and this particular vertical is generating the most ROI and these particular campaigns are generating the most ROI. For your ad spend. So, yeah, the biggest thing to understand here is really nailing down your CRM and the data flowing through that, whether it's Salesforce or HubSpot, and really understanding where your dollars are being spent and where you're generating the most money. And surprisingly, what I've seen in the past, and not just with clients that I'm working with now, but clients I've worked with in the past, is they had no model to understand the lifetime value of their customers, right? I had an e-commerce that was working with an e-commerce company who sold mattresses in a box. And one of the biggest challenges there was understanding what the lifetime value of a customer was in that industry. A lot of the times in that industry, customers are just going to purchase one item, which is a mattress. We wanted to start thinking bigger. Can we upsell pillows? Can we upsell comforters? Can we upsell any accessories that might make the experience better for a customer? So we started running campaigns for customers that had converted and already purchased the mattress. So we started spinning up some ads to kind of go after and increase the lifetime value of those customers and get additional purchases. All right, now that we have them buying sheets and pillowcases and pillows, what's the next step? Can we get referrals off these guys? They've already purchased multiple products off of us. Can we keep the relationship going in an e-commerce perspective? And once we map that out, we started to understand, all right, well, this is a true lifetime value of our customer because not only are they purchasing a mattress, they're buying pillows and sheets. And if we dangle a referral bonus, then we might get another additional purchase, off of that referral. So something to understand when you're thinking about the long-term value of your customers. And it can be difficult, I understand, with the B2B space because as we all know, B2B selling is hard. There are millions and millions of services and products being sold across LinkedIn, PPC, Bing, Meta, you name it. It's a competitive market, but to differentiate yourself, you really have to understand, can I extend the life of my products? Is my SaaS product worthy of upselling in the future? And how can I retain my customers, right? And at that point, you'll start to understand, where the ROI is, calculating your LTV and seeing, how that's kind of generating more revenue at the bottom end. So I kind of want to seg here, and this is a really big one because I get this a lot. How do I shift my budgets? And there's no easy answer, right? Because at the end of the day, like I said, that customer that I was working with, they're running 20 concurrent campaigns. I'm going to give you just kind of a use case. We're working with a client, the same one I talked about in the health and safety sector. They're operating in 5 geographic territories: America, New Zealand, Canada, the UK, and now they're focusing in the Benelux region. They came to me and said, Jamie, we have an issue. We really don't know where our spend is at. We want to shift away from America because we think it's underperforming. We've not been getting enough orders in this particular region. What are your thoughts on, shifting budget from one region to another? And I said, well, let's take a look. And I asked the CMO a question. I said, do you know what territories currently, driving the most revenue and driving the most pipeline? And the answer was, well, we kind of have an idea. I wasn't surprised because that's, something very common in what I hear with a lot of clients is they really don't know where they're spending in their geos. What I did was I developed a spend analysis for all their geographic regions at a 12-month look back. I put it all into an Excel spreadsheet because I wanted to understand where exactly the dollars are being spent. And they were primarily running paid search and paid social. I would say it was about a 60-40% split before we decided to kind of eliminate paid social altogether. So we looked back, I did an investigation, I mapped out all the data points that I had, all the revenue that was being generated on a monthly basis. I looked at the cost that we were spending on a month-to-month basis per geographic region, and I started to realize, and that they were telling me insights before I started putting this thing together, that they assumed that the American region was producing the most revenue. What I had come to find out in 12 in that 12-month look back was that the American region was actually their most overspent and underperforming region. They were spending a lot of money in the American region and not really getting a lot of results. And they found that the UK region was actually their highest performing region, producing the most revenue with a minimal amount of spend. So I had my answer. All right, they're considering shifting 30% of budget, but they don't know where exactly to shift that budget to. So now I had a picture, painted a picture, showed it to the CMO, helped them understand, all right, this is where we're going to shift the budget to. UK is performing well, but it's got a small amount of budget. The US region is not performing well, but we're spending too much money there. There is my answer. We're able to shift and allocate that budget more efficiently. So my main takeaway here is to always map out your data, map out where your money is being spent. And I'm not talking just from a purely campaign perspective. If you're operating across multiple geographic regions, map it out by geo region, and really look at it on a month-to-month basis. And then it'll help you start painting a picture of being able to track things quarter over quarter. And then finally, when you get to the end of the year, you're starting to understand, all right, well, I can pull out this data in this quarter per region and break out and start getting granular with what campaigns were being run in that quarter, what was producing, more revenue at the bottom, and what campaigns weren't really performing in a particular quarter. And then you'll start to see the trends on a quarter over quarter basis. This region is doing absolutely well. This region is not doing well. What campaigns were working well in the UK region versus the American region, and how can we start shifting those budgets moving forward. It's not a guessing game, and it's very scary to think of it that way, because a lot of people that I've worked with in the past have just kind of shifted budgets on a whim without really looking at data or plotting out their data points. So definitely map out your data. I know it can be time consuming because let's face it, nobody likes working in spreadsheets, right? I don't either, but it's just something that we need to do. And if you're willing to do the work and map out the data points in Excel, you're going to start seeing results because you're doing your due diligence and really mapping out the data. And you know what? And what I've seen is sharing that report with the CMO really opened up her eyes. She took it to her board. They had a clear picture of where their dollars are being spent. And it was good to see that they had that visibility that we provided to them. So I say it's something that you should start working on. If you don't have that already, build out a spreadsheet, break it out by region, put sheets together, and then just update it on a regular basis, week to week, month to month, however would be a good frequency. Because you'll never know when you'll have your director of marketing, CFO, CMO, whatever, coming to you and asking you, hey, Jay, how much money did we spend this month for the US region? At least you have something tangible to look at, and at least you know exactly how much you spent that month, how many closed deals you got, how many opportunities, MQLs, whatever. It's just a good way to get, that full picture painted for your CFO, but it also feels good to look at because at least, you're driving results in your campaigns and you're able to map it all out. Right. So, all right. So one other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is, common mistakes in PPC and paid social and campaign setups. The number one thing here is vanity metrics. How many of you guys have come into this problem? What's the report? I'm sure probably like 60% of y'all, right? One thing that I did note is that, marketing attribution is probably the second thing that's a big mistake, because a lot of people don't really understand attribution models, because it's very difficult to pinpoint the right one for your business. Or if you have clients that you don't know, what are they really like? For example, e-commerce, right? An e-commerce attribution model might look a lot more different than a B2B SaaS company's attribution model. Here at Future Group, we actually operate in a bow tie model, which Mitch will walk us through a little bit later on today, which helps us really identify, where our prospects are at every step in the funnel, in a pre-pipeline down all the way to a closed won deal, right? One thing that I did notice is that with companies that I've worked with in the past have always chased vanity metrics. It's just something I can never seem to get away from, but with a little bit of education, you start to really hone in and educate, um, and if you're working with clients or, with your CMOs or marketing director, what have you, to really help them understand, what the real metrics that you're reporting on. A lot of the times, these individuals are strictly focused on revenue, which they should be, right? But it's not something to move you away from like purely looking away from vanity metrics because some of that still has value. At the end of the day, you really want to know outside of revenue, what kind of creatives that, getting more engagement, what's really getting you more video views and that sort of thing. So I'm not saying completely eliminate vanity metrics, but don't use that as your foundation to kind of report on your successes. One thing also is a lack of testing is another, common mistake. A lot of times that I've seen with clients that have come to me, hey Jay, we set up, these campaigns 6 months ago. And then I ask, okay, well, do you guys conduct, ad ops on a regular basis? When's the last time you've optimized your accounts? And I had one client one time tell me that they hadn't touched their ad account in 6 months. And I was shocked. I was like, you're spending $10,000 a month and you haven't touched your ad account in 6 months. That is crazy. So now I had to go and look back 6 months and see, all right, they've been spending the same amount of money each month. They hadn't been really getting a lot of leads and they had done no testing. It was a lot of homework to get done, but at the end of the day, I helped them understand. And it's all about education. The way to deepen your relationships with clients or just your bosses is just helping them understand, like, hey, you're running paid ads. A lot of the times, they don't know what that means. They just think it's going to be a Google ad that they're going to see on search, and oh yeah, it's that thing that's on Google search. The annoying ads that I always see. But there's a science behind it, right? We all want to understand what's driving clicks. What's producing the most deals. What's moving the needle for a company. And the way you do that is testing. I say I know a lot of times you have a smaller budget, but even if you're testing, a small amount of your budget on a 2-week, 3-week period, it's very important because you're going to start seeing what keywords are driving the most intent for your campaigns. You're also going to see, what kind of engagement you're getting from some of your messaging. So even if you're not chasing deals or opportunities or leads right off the bat in your testing, set goals for yourself. All right, well, what messaging is resonating with these 2 ad campaigns that I'm testing on a 2-week basis? Map that out. All right, what drove the most clicks? Because at the end of the day, you're paying for the clicks, not them, not the prospects. So you want to understand. All right, well, what top of funnel ads are we running on Google? Are they high intent? Do we have the right audiences? Do we have the right demographics layered in? Do we have the certain exclusions? And these are things that you need to understand because uh, I did have a client one time that didn't even have any sort of they had pretty much their account set up as a default, and it's the same client that didn't touch their ad account for 6 months. They had no intent audience, no affinity audiences layered in, no demographics set, no day parting. So it was kind of a free for all, and they were spending a lot of money. But after I went in there and optimized their account, I would say after a few months, they started to really understand the value of their ad spend. They started getting more quality leads coming through the door. They started, where they were able to actually launch retargeting campaigns because they had actual visitors that were interested, in their services. And, that's critically important. So, we'll talk more about this a little bit later, but definitely understanding your attribution model is another thing. And also not having automations in place, which is also very critical. So, definitely when you're looking at your ad account, you want to make sure that you're looking at every piece of the puzzle there, understanding your audiences, understanding what are your high intent keywords. Are you setting up campaigns and testing your keywords? Do you have negative keyword lists set up? Because if you don't, you're just going to waste money. And let's face it, nobody likes wasting money. I know I don't. But yeah, so definitely, take time to look at your ad accounts. Like I said, don't eliminate vanity metrics. Really start honing in and map out how your account looks like, and then just check the overall health. I like to conduct weekly ad ops checks for all my ad accounts for clients and also for internally. I manage our internal, paid search and paid social. So I want to make sure that, hey, we're getting the most quality leads that are being sent to our sales team, and also conduct some interviews with your sales team. Get some understanding of, what leads are coming through the door. What was the quality of the leads? A lot of the times people don't do that. They just assume I got a lead in the door. Boom, I'm done. No, talk to your sales team. very critical that, you're in front of them at all times and that they understand, where those leads are coming in, how they're coming in, and also the quality of them, because that's going to help you optimize your accounts even further. All right. Well, we're getting, Gmail form fills in our HubSpot, those aren't quality leads. And all right, then let's start taking a look at the forms and, disabling an option and just have pure work emails, and you'll start to see the changes and that sort of thing. So, okay. So next thing I definitely want to talk about, I touched upon a little bit earlier, was full funnel measurement and attribution. A lot of the times, I would say 60-70% of the time, we have a lot of people just purely focus on the last touch interaction. Um, in some cases, that might be valuable, but a lot of times it really isn't, because when you're running multiple ad campaigns for different reasons, middle of the funnel, top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, then the last touch attribution method is going to get thrown out the window, because you're going to have conversions happen at multiple steps and, at different steps of your ad journey. So really understanding, the picture that you're trying to paint with your attribution model. And there's really, like I said, we operate in the bow tie funnel. So we want to understand where we're spending and how we're operating across the entire, before they even enter the sales pipeline. But yeah, understanding, where your prospects came from, where they influenced, did they attribute to a closed one deal from an ad that they saw on LinkedIn, that sort of thing. And really, and really making sure that your integrations are set up on your website. Are you tracking? Do you have all your tracking tags set up? Do you have your consent mode activated on Google Analytics? Are you able to track your retargeting? Are you feeding your retargeting campaigns with people actually visiting your website that are not just bots? We had a client that set up retargeting campaigns recently, and they got like 20 leads in one day. And I was like, oh, that seems suspicious, because they were getting like 5 leads a week. I went and checked, and it was an ad campaign that was set up for retargeting, and it was all bots pretty much. So you want to be very careful that before you spin up retargeting campaigns, that you have your audience is set up correctly. But that goes back to my point about, full funnel measurement and attribution. You want to make sure that you have the right attribution model for you. If it's a full funnel measurement, then that's what you're really wanting to achieve and look at, especially in the B2B SaaS space, because we spend a lot of money in ads. There's millions of advertisers on LinkedIn spending a ton of money with a ton of creative, with different landing pages and that sort of thing. So, yeah, just definitely understanding what the attribution model looks like, and if it's working for you. If it's not working for you, then start thinking about how I can look at my data and how I can build a better model. And there's plenty of examples out here. In Michigan, like I said, we'll talk about how we operate our full funnel measurement here at Future Group. All right, so I want to jump into another thing that usually pops up when I'm talking to clients, and that's creative and messaging. And this one's a really big one as well. So there's two things here. I touched upon it when I talked about testing, and how can we test and that sort of thing. The biggest thing is a lot of people don't really understand, how to do testing on, let's say, LinkedIn, for example. And I'll just touch upon that because that's where I do a lot of testing myself outside of paid search. Where do you start? Where do you start? That's always the question I like to ask myself. What is the goal of this campaign? Should be your next question. Are we driving leads? Are we looking to fill pipeline? Are we looking to help prospects that are stuck at a certain stage of the funnel finally convert? Or are we trying to build a retargeting audience and that sort of thing? One thing that that I get asked frequently is, what the best ad format is on LinkedIn. And I always usually reply with, well, are you testing? A lot of the times they say no. What I've come to find out is there really is no clear answer. It varies for all industries. It varies by industry, right? Let's say a carousel post could be performing well for someone in the healthcare industry. It might not do so well for someone that's offering a service-based model, for their products. Or if you, for example, I worked for a data center company 5 years ago, and we sold data center space, right? How can you market that? Well, what I did is I was started to test out different ad types, video, carousel, static images, right? How can we convey that we're, selling data center space to B2B companies when our average deal size is 500,000 plus, right? Well, the biggest challenge there was really understanding, well, how are we going to get these high dollar individuals to click on our ads, and what ads are they going to click on to help them understand what we're really trying to sell? What I came to find out is I did a creative test with two different videos. One was an animated video that kind of showed, our data center space and our data center hall. The second video was an actual walkthrough of the data center hall itself. What I came to find out after that, it was a month test, and I had a pretty good amount of spend. I think I spent about $5,000 on that test, just for that particular test, because my budget was a little higher at the time. And the data center hall tour was actually the ad type that was performing the best. The messaging, and what that led me to help me understand about my prospect audience was that they liked actual shots of the data center space itself. They like to see the hall space. They like to see, and it kind of puts that idea into their heads. All right, well, how many racks do I have? Oh, I have 20 racks. Okay, and how much rack space am I going to need? Okay, I can see it fitting in this space comfortably. And that drove up a lot of tour requests, because our landing page was all about getting a tour in our data center hall, right? Coming through the data center hall, getting a walkthrough of the private cages that we're able to offer prospects. So similar situation, if you're let's say a B2B company in the cybersecurity sector, right? There's so many people delivering ads on LinkedIn about cybersecurity. Look at your messaging that's resonated in the past, and test out different messaging. If you understand the pain points, let's say cybersecurity could be, let's say, bot protection, DDoS protection, that sort of thing. Start testing out imagery that kind of conveys customer pain points against imagery that might be more focused on your service, right? Because a lot of companies don't really understand, don't really go after white glove service messaging, and purely focus on product. But at the end of the day, you want to understand what's really driving. So I always say, just do a lot of iterative testing. Don't be afraid to allocate a small amount of budget to test out creative and messaging. Just to give a use case, and I'll jump on that on my next slide here, is I'm going to talk about a case study when I optimized the bottom of the funnel messaging for a stakeholder management company in New Zealand. I was consulting for this company. They're based out of New Zealand, and they were operating in New Zealand and the UK as their two primary sectors. They were running top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel ad campaigns, but their bottom of the funnel ad campaigns weren't performing quite as well, and they wanted to understand why. Why aren't our bottom of the funnel ads converting, right? And this was all on LinkedIn. They're getting a lot of top of funnel leads coming through the door, but the challenge they were having was closing deal moving forward. So I took over the account, and I started auditing the entire account, looked at all the campaigns, looked at all the creative, looked at the messaging, and again, I started mapping everything out on a spreadsheet for the last 12 months just to get an understanding. I noticed that the bottom of the funnel messaging that they were running on LinkedIn ads was more of a hard sell, as opposed to helping the customer know that they were going to be in the right hands with the right company. And I asked the CMO, like, well, what was the reasoning behind the hard sell in the bottom of the funnel messaging? And she said, well, in the past, we would get a lot of deals at the bottom of the funnel campaign because we were finally just like, hey, get a demo, get a demo, get a demo. And then I started to think, well, it sounds to me like we've been doing a lot of hard selling, which in a lot of cases you want to do at the bottom of the funnel, but the messaging was I would say probably too straightforward. So I set up a messaging test, right? I wanted to see, all right, let's run a campaign that was running the existing messaging to the same landing page we're currently running. And let's test out some messaging that was more of a soft sell, talked more about helping reinforce the pain points we were going to solve with the products, and highlight that in the creative, whether it was a video about the products or talking about the customer success. Because one of the things that company, took pride on was their customer success, their customer success program. And that element itself was missing from their bottom of the funnel ad messaging. So so that was one thing. We ran the test for about 3 weeks. We started to see about a 7% increase in conversions on the new messaging. So we sunset the old messaging and ran with it. And then after, I had moved on from that client, I talked to the CMO. I said, hey, how's your bottom of the funnel messaging doing now? and they said it's their top performing. It was their top performing campaign, that their bottom of the funnel campaigns were outperforming their middle of the funnel, and that the messaging about, reinforcing solving the pain points for their prospects, really helped move the needle. So just something to think about, audit your campaigns, audit all your messaging, and just do testing, because you never know what's going to help you move the needle, even if it's incremental. I'm almost done here, guys, but I just want to give some more insights and just, give you some more tidbits here. But yeah, just, really, before we conclude, I just want to share some more insights, with helping your CFO understand where your dollars are going. For example, for every pound you spend, how many more pounds are we going to get in return, that sort of thing. Building a framework for presenting is a big thing. I'm a real big believer in HubSpot dashboards, so definitely don't be afraid to put those dashboards together in HubSpot. Map out all your data. Talk to your data team. If you don't have a data team, go on the web and see how you can do that, or reach out to us. We're always here to help out. We help clients set up these dashboards, reports to help them and help their CFOs understand where their dollars are being spent, and where their ad money is being spent, and where the deals are being closed. So paint a picture. That's the best analogy I could say is, the easier you can paint a picture and map everything out for your CFO, the easier your life will be, and you'll be able to report on. So, just some last takeaways here is just align your paid media with your financial outcomes. Always have goals, and always talk to your CMO and CFO about your organizational goals, because at the end of the day, you're not running the campaigns, just to get CTRs and clicks. You want to tie them into your organizational goals and that sort of thing. And also use a full funnel measurement model with your attribution, kind of understand where everything is beyond the last click and what happened before that. And then, optimizing your ad spend on a weekly basis. Please do it. I know it's not fun, but it's got to be done, guys. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll be around if you have any questions about anything. Don't hesitate to ask. And thanks for having me up here, guys.